It's Wednesday, March 14th. I'm Clint Lambert, the host today, and I have with me here in the studio not one, but two of our Board of Supervisors here of Fairfax County, and we are very pleased to have with us both the chairman of the board and to have a county supervisor with us. We have Sharon Bulova and Jeff McKay. Welcome. Glad to have both of you.
Great to be here.
Very good. What are the Board of Supervisors? Who are they? What are they? What do they do?
So, since I'm the chairman, I'll start.
Okay.
That's right.
So the Board of Supervisors is the governing body for the county of Fairfax. And the Board of Supervisors is responsible for setting your tax rate every year. Actually, right now, we have just begun the budget process.
Okay.
But real estate taxes, personal property taxes, business taxes, then pay for local services such as the schools, such as public safety, human services, environmental programs, public works. And the Board of Supervisors is responsible for making land use decisions regarding how people can use their land, how it can be developed. Okay. So we are the most grassroots level of government, and really what we do affects your everyday life.
So you really are the controllers from a governmental standpoint of our county.
Correct.
I mean, and make the decisions about how the county is going to develop and what's going to happen, right?
Absolutely.
Based on our money.
Yes. Yes.
And Jeff, you're one of those supervisors.
Right.
And what do you do?
So the board's made up of 10 members. The chairman is elected countywide, and then there's 9 individual district supervisors. I'm one of those 9 individuals that represents the Lee district, which includes everything from Springfield, where we are, all the way down to the Route 1 corridor and down to Fort Belvoir up to the city of Alexandria line. So I represent about 120,000 constituents in my district, and so I do all the things Sharon just mentioned, but with an angle many times towards the interest of my specific district and what I'm hearing from people who live in the magisterial district that I represent. When it comes to land use at the district supervisor level, you really do get involved in the day-to-day workings of a particular land use application in your district. You get very intimate with that, and you spend a lot of time out at civic and homeowner association meetings, going to where the people are and hearing what their concerns are. And then obviously we take very seriously the actions we have to take that have countywide implications, like adopting a budget, or, we do spend quite a bit of time writing legislative programs so that we can interact with our members of Congress and people at the state level who have an impact on the quality of life of people in Fairfax County as well. Okay.
You are the county supervisors. There's also a Fairfax City, right, within the county.
Yes.
What's the relationship? How does all that work?
So if we had a map of the county, you would see a hole in the middle of the county.
Oh, okay.
And that is the independent city of Fairfax.
Oh, okay.
So it was originally a town. So it was originally a town within the county.
Right.
But some years ago, I guess it was during the 1950s, late 1950s, they petitioned the General Assembly at the time to become an independent, separate city.
Oh,
so if you were to look at a map, you would see a hole in the middle of the county, and that's the independent city of Fairfax. And then if you looked really closely, if you drilled in, you would see another hole in the middle of the city of Fairfax, and that is a county island that contains the jail. So our regional jail and our judicial centers, the Massey building, which will soon come down, but originally that was our center of government.
Wow.
So when they became an independent city, we said, hey, wait a minute. There is, there are uses, yes, that belong to the county, and so that judicial area
goes against conventional wisdom. This is a case where the city is tiny and the county is
Yes.
very large surrounding it, and most people think city and county, they think the opposite.
Right,
but
exactly.
it's an interesting phenomenon here.
Because I have read things about the fact that the two of you met mesh, quite well, but it's all involved and complex in regards to the relationship at times and who has jurisdiction over things.
It, I'm sure, was very exciting and dramatic when it happened. And so for years there were, bad feelings between the city of Fairfax and the county of Fairfax. And but we've gotten over all of that, and I think we have an excellent working relationship with the city of Fairfax, and we work together all the time on education, on public safety, and on George Mason University, which originally belonged to the city and then was given to the state. Now individuals who are students at the university vote in county elections.
Oh, okay.
And we have to work together well. Sharon works a lot with the city of Fairfax. The equivalent I have out at this end of the county is Fort Belvoir. I mean, it is an entity unto its own.
Yes.
It's governed by people that aren't the Board of Supervisors, but we share so many common things about, we run their school system for them, how our roads interact with each other, how our sewer systems interact, and public safety. And so, when you're in a county the size of Fairfax, you begin to think about things regionally. Not just within the boundaries of your county, but even outside of that, and how you can work well with these other forms of government, because at the end of the day, it's in all of our residents' interests that we're working together collaboratively.
Okay. You mentioned Fort Belvoir. I'm retired military, so my ears perk up when I hear that. With BRAC, has it had an impact on you and the county? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's had a immeasurable positive impact. Clearly, there's a lot of new jobs in the Springfield area that our local economy needed. National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is probably the most prominent one.
Yes.
But, the growth at Fort Belvoir, as long as we can reasonably work with them to manage infrastructure, which has always been a challenge, will continue to be a challenge. But in terms of economic development, many of the private sector developments that have happened in and around Springfield, the dramatic growth in our office square footage, which helps our residential tax base provide some relief, the revitalization of the Springfield Town Center, some of the areas in central Springfield directly connected to the success and the job growth at Fort Belvoir. And so from an economic standpoint, Fort Belvoir is our largest employer. It's critical to the county's economic success, brings in good jobs. I think the major complaint, that we get about the base that we deal with regularly is how we can, better manage the traffic. The base is a good partner. The base is a good partner from that standpoint, but, they don't directly fund a lot of the road projects. The base doesn't, and so we're always in conversations with them about improving relations and transportation, but it's an undeniable economic benefit to the county.
When BRAC happened, it was a little bit like getting a drink of water with a fire hose.
I can imagine.
But we worked closely with Fort Belvoir, and were able to, in a relatively short period of time, make some major improvements to complete the Fairfax County Parkway, other transportation improvements, and we even began a new bus service that the county pays for that links Fort Belvoir with Metro, and it's called the Eagle Express. So
and there's always a bus available on Fort Belvoir at the exchange if people can get on. So.
Right. And just across the street where the NGA is, I mean, there's nearly 9,000 employees there. And the reason why there hasn't been traffic Armageddon that we were expecting, especially for residents of Green Spring going out the main entrance, is that we made sure that there were dedicated exit ramps off of 95 directly into that facility. And so a lot of the traffic that would have been down here using our local roads that's coming off the interstate has direct access into the NGA, and of course it's a sprawling, enormous property.
Phenomenal.
So all the traffic can be managed on site, so we don't have the backups out onto our residential streets. And so, working closely with them, we came up with a good compromise that allowed the economic growth but also controlled the impact on our roads.
I'm not sure if everybody understands what NGA is. That's the North Campus area that you're talking about, and it's right off the Parkway, which is very nice.
Commonly called the Engineer Proving Ground site for some old timers that remember it when it was that.
In regards to
Right.
You guys are paid, right? I mean, your jobs.
We are full-time.
Okay.
We both work full-time. Some members of the board have other jobs, but still put in full-time hours at,
Okay.
to their supervisor jobs.
Okay.
But both Jeff and I, we serve the community full-time. We are compensated, and we don't get overtime.
Oh, we don't.
We just do what it takes to get the job done.
Okay, so you're a full-time employee
Yes.
in regards to that, as far as salary and everything
and
along
then
those
some.
lines, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a staff
Yes.
as well?
We do, both of us. Each supervisor sort of serves as a mayor of their district.
Oh, okay.
And each supervisor has an office in their district and also has staff, usually a relatively small staff. I'd say probably ranges between 5 and 7 individuals. Some are part-time, some are full-time.
Right.
But every supervisor is sort of the mayor of their district.
And your office, the county's office, is off of 29, correct?
Correct. So the main county mothership
Right.
is at the government center off of Route 29, and that that is where my office is, and that's where our board meetings are.
Okay. And it's just off the Parkway onto 29, and then up and follow
Right.
the signs, right?
Yep.
Right. But, locally, each of us have our own office within our district as well.
okay.
And so my district office is the Franconia Government Center, where the Franconia Police Station is on
Right.
Franconia Road. And so predominantly I spend my time there, but when the board convenes for formal meetings, the formal meetings happen at the main government center, and that's where the bulk of our county employees also work.
Okay.
But each of us has a district office. Some are in police stations, some are in libraries, some are in fire stations. It just depends by district.
Oh, okay. I could make a comment, at least it's not on that little island in the center of Fairfax
It's
City.
not
right?
on that.
Right.
No, that's not where our office is.
No longer, although that is where it used to be.
Wow.
So the Massey building is, a great big, tall, inefficient building that used to be our seat of government,
Wow.
and now that we're at the government center, where we will actually deplode or take down
Yes.
the Massey building.
So it's going to be one of those implosions?
Yes, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but the building will come down.
Great, sounds good. Speaking of things coming down, there's also things going up, right, within the county. What are some of the things that are happening and projects going on within the county?
Well, let's see. A lot of transportation projects are taking place right now.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, with a new infusion of money, increase in the sales tax that the General Assembly allowed us through Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, we're able to build expanded transportation networks, such as improvements to Route 28. Also, right now, in the news a lot is I-66.
Yes.
And so a project to increase lanes on I-66 outside of the Beltway will soon begin.
Okay.
Their new lanes will be toll lanes, but people who want to drive fast and pay for it will be out of the regular lanes. So it's
I have to make a comment. You mentioned the tolls.
Yes.
I mean, really, $46 for a toll on 66, and people actually pay that?
inside the Beltway. Before that, single occupant vehicles couldn't use those
Right.
lanes
Oh,
inside
okay.
the Beltway.
Okay.
So now people can use those lanes. There will be some improvements made to I-66 inside the Beltway, and tolling helps to pay for those
Sure,
improvements.
sure.
If the state were paying more of state money,
Right.
we wouldn't have tolls to help
Yeah.
pay for
Right,
transportation.
and from an equity standpoint, people have been paying close to that dollar figure on the Beltway and on Interstate 95
Wow.
now for a couple years, and so it is a result of the state not having the resources to make improvements, but it's also for us about providing people options. So, in these cases, nobody has to use the toll lanes. You can
Right.
completely avoid them, and part of the idea behind them is if there are people who are willing to pay, they're getting out of the way of people who don't want to pay, helps alleviate some congestion. I will say that the Beltway is probably the best example where they've worked well. 95 still has some real challenges, but the Beltway was designed well, done well, and works. But you mentioned projects. There are a couple other ones outside of transportation that I think are important to mention too. They're close by.
Yes.
One is we're working on several different scenarios that will save Lake Accotink. Lake Accotink is filling up with silt rapidly, and if we don't do something in the short term, there is the potential that the lake just becomes a marsh area and just gets overgrown, and we lose the lake feel that is Lake Accotink. And so there's a lot of people, myself included, very emotionally tied to trying to do what we can to preserve the lake. It changes the park dramatically if we're not able to do that. So we've had a lot of recent public meetings about that. We'll have some more. People can comment on that, but it's important to Springfield. The other thing is we're building a commuter parking garage in Springfield, working through the process to do that, which would help people who want to carpool or ride the buses that Sharon mentioned, trying to give people better ways to get around from a transportation standpoint that don't rely on them just getting in their own car and doing it. And the last thing I'll mention is a little bit of ways away from here, but it's big. We're replanning the entire Route 1 corridor, making sure that we can revitalize it, build a bus rapid transit system there in its own dedicated lane. It's some years off, but it's way overdue that we invest resources into that older revitalization area. It's in all of our interest to make sure Route 1 succeeds, and so we're putting a lot of attention into rewriting the comprehensive plan, getting the investment in the highway that we need to help improve conditions there.
And in the other side of the county, so you've got the Silver Line extension of Metro that will extend Metro from Falls Church. You can take it now through Tyson's into Reston, but
You'll go to Dulles?
And so next year it will be completed to Dulles Airport.
Wonderful.
It'll be completed by the end of 2019. Service will begin in 2020. That's a really big deal.
That's a big deal.
All of our airports connected by transit finally.
Yes, and I'm sure all the Erickson's properties are going to love that. I mean, especially Ashby Ponds, for convenience of giving people to get to places from Ashby Ponds.
Absolutely.
Various places.
You get to any place.
Yes. Wonderful.
The last thing I was going to mention, we did just approve last night at the board meeting a addition to Green Spring that I think everybody here knows about. An additional aquatic center and some additional food choices and some other improvements, a parking deck for more parking. And so I've heard from a lot of residents here that that's something that they wanted. It now is through our regulatory process, and we resoundingly approved it on a 10-0 vote so that Green Spring can continue to invest in this property and make sure that their amenities match what people want.
Very good, very nice. You mentioned a parking ramp that's being built. Is that off of the industrial park area?
So there's a number of things. There's some ramp structures that were built in association with the 95 Express Lanes project, and there is a dedicated ramp that goes to the NGA property. There are some ramps that are being proposed to be rebuilt in a different direction down near the Newington Industrial Park, down near the tank farm, to help improve people's ability to get in and out of there more easily. There's a bottleneck on 95 in that area, and so we're trying to work on a couple different configurations. So there's some construction underway, there's some longer term construction and some intersection improvements on that section of the Fairfax County Parkway that runs along the tank farm where we have significant backups. And so there's a lot of transportation improvements in and around this area, either underway or in design right now or in the process of being funded.
Got to follow up. Tank farm, all those fuel tanks sitting there so close to the roadway, so close to 95. What kind of protection do we have? What kind of safety features do we have with that?
It's a really good question, and it's one that our police are very aware of. They monitor the property pretty regularly. There's a lot of standards in place there, security standards, and the tankers coming and going. But clearly, its location is a reason to be concerned. I mean, it's right next to the interstate. If people wanted to do harm and shut down commerce along 95, you could shut down commerce along 95 for a long period of time. But I have confidence in our police work very well well with our federal agencies. They're aware of the particulars of the property. It's been there for a long time.
Yes.
It's been very successful. It's going to be there for a long time further. And so our job at the local level is to make sure that we maintain awareness. And that we play an active role in partnership with our federal agencies on that. But it definitely is something that is on our radar and that we monitor regularly.
We have more tank farms actually in the city, located in the city of Fairfax, but adjacent to the county.
Oh, okay.
And that's off of Pickett Road.
Oh, yes.
Pickett
yes.
Road, Little River Turnpike in that
Right.
area. And we did have an issue with some of the tanks leaking many years ago.
Okay.
So I guess it was probably about 25 years ago, and got into the groundwater in the Mantua area, and so that was an environmental disaster at that time. And so ever since then, boy, we've been really, really tight with making sure that that we're carefully regulating those uses, and that our public safety folks are out there inspecting and making sure that we don't have that kind of situation happen again.
Because it always concerns me, and there's such a bottleneck right there for traffic. I mean, I use that way to go to Fort Belvoir, and I mean, it's always congested, and the big tankers are pulling out when they're full, and they're just barely being able to get up the hill to to do things, and it's like, ooh, this here looks like it's an ideal spot for somebody to do something that we don't want to have happen. So.
Yeah, it's true, and part of our way to alleviate that is get these transportation improvements made, because those idle trucks, sometimes getting out Industrial Drive where they come out, they can't all get out.
Right.
The light cycle will be green, one truck gets out.
Yes.
So VDOT is looking, because VDOT owns and maintains the roads in the county, they're looking at making some incremental improvements out there and expanding the capacity at that intersection. But the traffic in that area has gotten much, much worse in the last couple of years. That's where Lee District and Mount Vernon District marry up.
Oh, okay.
And so the Mount Vernon Supervisor and I have been working with VDOT on a couple different scenarios that will improve dramatically the throughput through there. But like with any construction project, there will be pain first, and there will be a benefit after. But we have to address that from a security standpoint, from a safety standpoint, and really just for maintaining access to the post.
Do you guys sometimes feel like things move at glacial speed?
Actually, sometimes things move at a glacial speed. Transportation is actually one of those things. It takes a long time to make major improvements happen in transportation, and also revitalization. There, right now is a major effort to revitalize the Richmond Highway corridor, Route 1, and that takes a tremendous amount of planning, working with the business community, working with the residential community. But if you don't make those things happen, things can decline and deteriorate. And Jeff, I think, has a fantastic example of a positive revitalization effort, and that is with Springfield Town Center. Used to be Springfield Mall, was declining, became a dangerous place, and now it's vibrant and exciting.
And it's very, very nice, and we thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Of all the projects I've worked on, few have given me as much pride as that. And someone who, born and raised in this area as a kid, the mall was where we went. It was safe, it was inviting, it was state of the art. Now I'm raising my kids here in the community I grew up in, and it's just wonderful to be able to say the same thing about the mall, because there was a period of time that didn't happen. So it takes tenacity, it takes aggressiveness to make something like that happen. But it never moves as fast as you want it to. But if you have the determination, you can still make it to the finish line.
With those kinds of things, how long? You all have plans, and you have renovation plans and refurbishing plans and all those kind. What do you have? 5-year plans, 10-year plans? What are they?
So I guess we have a comprehensive plan for the county, which is updated regularly, and actually we're working on improving on that process to include the community in updating our plans for land use and development. We also have a capital improvement plan, a CIP, for county facilities.
Oh, okay.
And so we adopt that every year. It is for a 5-year period of time without years beyond that. So we plan land use regularly. And the important thing is engaging the community, and both Jeff and I are looking for better ways to reach out and engage with the community, especially in this day and age where you have many different ways that people get information. Social media, we need to make sure that we're truly getting out into the community and letting folks not just know what's happening, but inviting people into the process.
Yeah, I've learned that to get the best community input, you have to go to where the people are.
Right.
And that doesn't always mean physically. It could mean electronically, but the reliance on people to come to you, those days and many times have passed. And so what I try to do in our office is proactively go to where people are and get their opinions. The county has done a really good job of reaching out to people through a whole multitude of different ways. And we recently did this with a zoning ordinance amendment where we got phenomenal feedback from people. And so it's probably a lesson in, everyone communicates in different ways. And so we have to be able to figure out a way to capture all of that.
Good. Yes, go ahead.
And a major project right now is called ZMOD. So it's our zoning ordinance, which was created originally during the 1940s, I guess, and has grown from this big to, voluminous, and it's dense in every sense of the word. It's not easy for people to understand.
Sure.
There's, it's been patched over the years, with, changes to deal with different problems and issues. And so we're trying to modernize that right now. So ZMOD is something that folks should pay attention to.
Should we also pay attention to the possibility of Amazon coming in?
Yes, that would be a game changer.
Yes.
And so Fairfax County is very excited to be among the finalists that Amazon is considering. And we feel that we have an excellent proposal in partnership with Loudoun County.
Wonderful.
So the two of us, we two counties are working together. We both have assets that we feel are attractive to Amazon. The most attractive thing is that we have an outstanding quality of life, a well-educated community. We will have the Silver Line completed through that area. So we think that we have a great opportunity.
What this process has done is validated to us what's important, because what Amazon is looking for is good schools, low crime, a welcoming community, a good place for people to work, an affordable place with transportation infrastructure and affordable housing. And we do well at so many of those things, which is why we're in competition. I will say the county's proposal in partnership with Loudoun would be enormous success to the county without a doubt. But at this end of the county, I've also got to keep my eye on the Alexandria and Arlington applications, because if Arlington or Alexandria is selected, there are some regional benefits to Fairfax County that we could get as well. And so the fact that you have multiple jurisdictions in this Northern Virginia economy that are in this is a validation that we're making the right investments and that we need to continue to work together.
So a lot of dovetailing.
Yes, if the region wins, we all benefit.
Right. Very, very good. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you both for coming. And as you said, you reach out to people. What can we do to give you the input? Leave us with some words of how we can contact you and what we can do to help you with your jobs.
So both Jeff and I have newsletters that we send out regularly, monthly, and sometimes in between, like we're getting out a special byline article on the budget that was just released recently. And really, it's important that people pay attention. That they are aware of what's going on and then have the opportunity to weigh in and to let us know their feelings.
Yeah, and you know, my office is close by on Franconia Road. People can drop in anytime, email us. I will say I have a 100% record of attendance at Green Spring. I have never declined an invitation to come into Green
We
Spring.
know.
And so,
We greatly
so I
appreciate it.
also like to come here oftentimes and hear from people as a part of that process as well.
Well, for those that don't know, Jeff's sister used to work here, and we would love to have Jeff's sister come back. Please tell Jessica we miss her greatly.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay. Again, thanks both of you. We're very glad to have you with us, and we look forward to continued successes for you, both of you, as well as Fairfax County.
Thank you, Clint.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Don't go away, guys, folks, and all the rest of you out there watching.